Hey everyone, welcome to seminar. Got a couple minutes behind here because actually I added a few things last minute to what we were going to go over today, and then some microphone issues as usual. But super stoked to do this seminar where we're instead of going like technical, like we're really not this time around, right? Like this seminar is intended to cover essentially like basic kind of resources within the Substrate developer community, so really like to talk about what there is there, and then for me to get feedback on like room for improvement and maybe resources that aren't working so well or could be better and stuff like that. So I really want this seminar to kind of be us like kind of hanging out, like those of us live here, and even those that are rewatching this later. You'll have a chance to get into the repo here. As you can see, it's at the Substrate Developer Hub organization. There's a repository called Substrate Seminar where you can go and submit a PR to this, maybe with more suggestions. Also, you can check out the survey that I've linked here for that. So really happy to kind of just take the time here, right, for the seminar. It's probably going to be shorter than usual, but I hope that it's valuable for people learning about Substrate and what resources exist out there, and also for other people to share their experience and stuff. So I'm just gonna do something here with my screen because it's not sharing correctly. But in the meantime, as per usual, feel free to use the chat, introduce yourselves. Maybe some of you are new here. I'm sure there's familiar people in the crowd, people that know each other. So feel free to say hi, use the chat. And yeah, it's really great to just have you just, connect and share ideas and whatnot. Let's use this time for that. So let me stop sharing this because it's not working. 1 second. So the plan for today really, guys, is to go through this list of things that I wanted to talk to you guys about. And then at the end, we might have, we'll have some time to bring some people on screen maybe, where maybe some of you guys want to just talk about things that you're doing in the community, probably people that are maybe working on something that maybe they want to just present, but really more like share their experience on how they are interacting with the existing learning resources within the Substrate community, as well as maybe things that I missed here, right? Like there's definitely probably going to be things that I missed. So I'm just having trouble for some reason. Share this tab instead. Okay, yeah, that's what I wanted to do. Cool. Okay, let's get started. So before we get started, I put some polls in the Crowdcast. And the intent is just to kind of get an idea of who's in the crowd and yeah, like where you're coming from and stuff. So that would be really cool if you guys can just take a minute to do that. Yeah. So I first want to start with this survey. This survey is really just a way for me to get to know on like what's working and what's not working so well. So if you can please take some time just to respond. It is more of a kind of like qualitative survey in the sense that I'm just looking for actually like genuine just a short sentence to do for some, but maybe there's some better feedback to be captured in like a longer form. So I kind of left it flexible for you guys to do, but that's really the intent. So what are we going to go over? I put the list here, so you guys probably have seen this before. And yeah, please feel free to make a PR to this page if there's anything you feel is missing after the seminar, and we can kind of, keep the conversation alive around that. The first thing I want to talk about is our StackExchange. So our StackExchange is a huge feat for us. It's been a struggle only because typically like developer communities within the chain ecosystems that exist are hard for the StackExchange model, right? Because like a lot of developers, they kind of come and go. And I think that the moderators at the team are doing a really good job at trying to like really stick to their values as to what makes a good Stack Exchange page. But at the same time, that's like it's also tricky to be sort of working with these new emerging developer communities that are sort of like, yeah, this broad like Web3 space that is really a patchwork of different like developer communities. And so all of that to say, it was a little bit of struggle. I'm sure that some of you were following the sort of journey from our Area 51 to where we are today. Without going into too much detail, we have secured our dedicated Stack Exchange. So what that looks like is that we, this is what you can see. So essentially, we have our dedicated substrate.stackexchange.com. And there's also been some discussions about whether it should be called just Substrate Stack Exchange or just Polkadot developer community. The discussion can be found if you go onto the meta page of our Stack Exchange, which is something I wanted to just go over to be super clear for those of you who are watching now and who want to contribute. And really, that is a place for contributors to our Stack Exchange to raise sort of like more overarching questions about the direction of the community. So you can see things about can we support like code tagging and question titles. There's some other things like how do visits get tracked? These were questions that we were asking ourselves when we were kind of learning about how to get our beta site off the ground. So for those of you who have no idea what Stack Exchange is, because that's a great question, well, it's just the go-to place to ask questions and answer questions and find answers to existing questions for a specific topic. So there's a bunch of different Stack Exchanges for topics ranging from artificial intelligence to Ethereum has its own Stack Exchange, for instance, and physics and mathematics and stuff like this, like where subject matter experts are contributing to answering common questions. So it's really important that you that if you are answering a question, that you abide to the guidelines that are set out about what makes a good question. So we're not going to go into that too much, but I trust that those of you who have heard about our Stack Exchange have at least gone into this meta area to maybe look at what the conversations are about, the naming of the page and stuff like that. This is very community centric. Like if you want to be involved in this, like you can. All you need to do is start answering questions. Ask questions if there's questions that don't exist. Make sure that you you make sure that you look for the question before you ask it, because it probably already exists. And then basically it's kind of a cool way to really just directly integrate into the developer community around Substrate development. I said kind of the more structural things about Stack Exchange. I do still want to say a couple more things here. So essentially, if you look at the questions in the Stack Exchange, so essentially you can see that there's a lot of unanswered questions. There's a lot of questions that have answers. For example, this one: when does an off-chain worker get executed? Well, this is a good question. It got upvoted a bunch of times, and there's a couple answers here. Right, there's two of them. However, this person that answered the question hasn't really picked which answer they believe is the best answer. And once they do, then it'll go green, and you will see it's something similar to like this answer here. So this question is asking, how can I transfer assets using XEM? Well, this answer got upvoted 24 times, and this person has deemed this answer being the best one. It's that this example is kind of weird because it's actually Keith, who is the main developer on XEM right now, who asked a question and answered a question. So this is actually a good example of how you can use Stack Exchange, right? And I want to stress that like this isn't just for core Polkadot and Substrate developers, right? This is for any developer building with Substrate. And we'll go into that real quick, but here just on this is like, this answer is asked by Keith and it was answered by Keith. And by the way, guys, this example is killer. Like this answer here is for me, it's like the highest quality answer I've ever seen on our StackExchange, like by far. I mean, like Keith has gone to the extent that he's put diagrams here. He's talking about asset teleportation. He's talking about all of the different traits that basically like how to use this XEM API, right? And I mean, it's a very extensive answer, right? He even provides a summary at the end. So yeah, you can see that it's him that answered it, and it's a well-deserved, upvoted, and solid answer for a post. So enough about that. The last thing I did want to go over is, let's see. Well, is there any questions on our StackExchange? Please feel free to look at to use the chat to ask questions. I'm going to keep an eye on the chat. So, but pretty much like I wanted to cover that. Yeah, for StackExchange. There's one important thing we're still going to go over. But yeah, StackExchange. Make sure that you're asking quality questions. There's no too late to get started with being part of this community, right? Like you can just literally start by upvoting questions and answering questions that you think you can answer. Questions can get several answers too, right? And so if there's one answer that's there, you feel free to maybe add to it. Like I've done that a couple of times. And the other thing is like, you get points, right? So it's like you can see that by engaging in the community, you kind of unlock these levels where you get more privileges in providing feedback or doing like all sorts of more privileged things. Like as a community member who has answered a lot of questions, then you can maybe like do things like add descriptions to tags and stuff. Yes, that's what I wanted to talk about last year is tags. So if you have a look at all of the tags that exist, well, there's a bunch of very obvious ones. We got frame here, Polkadot.js, so all these questions about Polkadot.js, Polkadot.js API, Rococo, etc. Transactions. So any questions about transactions? For example, this is transaction is actually a very common tag to have. That's so weird. And I click transactions and it says no questions found. Perhaps you'd like to select a different tag. Why is it that no more tag? Well, maybe there's some edit there that I missed. But I wanted to show you the tag system, not just for the obvious, but for the maybe less obvious. So the less obvious is that if you are developing a parachain, if you have your own project, well, you should be able to use our StackExchange to create and answer questions for that project, right? You should be able to basically, if there's an example, I think Interlay might be using it, InterBTC. Let's see. But so, I mean, yeah, so like there's one question with the InterBTC tag. It seems like there's been some cleanup with a bunch of these tags, but the point being is like, let's see if Aster's in there. I know, yeah, there you go. Questions that are pertinent to Aster's implementation of the Substrate node. Just stressing this, maybe Edgeware does Edgeware have a tag? That would be cool. Edgeware doesn't have a tag. Like, so for example, like Edgeware should have a tag. Like, they are doing very specific things. It would be really cool to really use this to nurture developers' questions and answers on a very broad scope. Okay, so I'm realizing I'm spending a lot of time on StackExchange, but it is a big deal because like this is the most like the highest quality resource for developers learning about Substrate because of the mechanisms of the answers being given, right? So like Gav answers very like periodically that you'll see answers by Gav who is like really like hands-on working on some of this core stuff, especially XEM and governance, for example. You have other core engineers at Parity that are directly answering questions. Basti is very active. Sean is incredibly active. He's the one that put this together. So it's like a no-brainer. Like this is like a really, really, really great resource. So talking about all of that, going back to our kind of plan for today, I wanted to just end on the fact that there's an election happening for our StackExchange. So this election phase is pretty much the way of electing kind of like key moderators for this community. So essentially, this election actually started this morning, depending on where you are in the world. So it started today, and we're not going to go through this now. Please look through it, because the whole point here is you, as a contributor to the broad Substrate developer ecosystem, you can nominate yourself to become a moderator for our StackExchange. And you can read up on the responsibilities, what that means, but essentially it's somebody who has privileges in really stewarding the community and the types of questions being answered and asked and stuff. And so, for example, Drew just has nominated himself. We have Rana here, for example. These are all new, so it's like I'm just reading them for the first time. Super cool. There's already a bunch of people that have nominated themselves. So your role here is either vote or nominate yourself, and you can also vote for yourself. So yeah, super cool. Questions on that, please? Anything? Let me know. If you guys are too shy to directly ask questions, you can always use our other means of like communicating, which actually I'm going to talk about later. Okay, super good. We're doing good on time. I wanted to spend a while on this anyway. So again, yeah, feel free to use questions. For those of you who are just joining, I put some polls out for today's seminar. This seminar is very different from other seminars. We're not doing anything technical. We're really just kind of like talking about who's in the community and what they're doing and how we're learning about Substrate things. So newsletters. I really, really want to know about how you guys think, the Substrate newsletters are working for you. Maybe how you guys think they can be improved. So please let me know, because I'm the one that writes them. So I really like this is about us. It's not about just me doing something once a month. I really want this to be useful, and I'm doing some work on trying to improve it. So again, there's a survey at the top of this page. Please put your feedback on that kind of thing, like, hey, the newsletter maybe could do this or that. Like, this is what I like, this is what I don't like. That would be great. But yeah, there's a Substrate newsletter. Pretty much what it is like going through the PRs that are like kind of breaking changes, PRs that are merged, things that I think are educational. So for example, like when some new governance primitives came in, like I shared that. I can't think off the top of my head, like some cool implementation that was done and merged. I maybe highlight that, but pretty much it's a place for just keeping track of the changes in kind of these three main sections, you could say. So pretty much frame, everything happening in the frame repos or with the frame team. More generally, cumulus and parachains, and then the tooling. And ink kind of fits as its own category, but really kind of in between talking about frame and cumulus. So that's pretty much like the newsletter format. Open to suggestions and feedback. There's another newsletter that is actually created by the China Substrate community. So this is also a good resource. I invite you guys to sign up to it. It's a Medium article. It's in blog format, and it's more weighted on the ecosystem development. So pretty much like picture what I just told you about, like what the Substrate newsletter is, where the Substrate newsletter is really focused on the parity technologies repositories. Well, that's the same kind of model, but except that they're taking every single let's have a look at it. Actually, they're taking every single ecosystem project, defined top ecosystem projects. I think basically like the earlier ones, and going through their PRs and breaking changes and stuff. So if you take a look, like Akala's there, Bifrost is there, Moonbeam, Crust, and it's actually pretty neat in how it's laid out in terms of like there's different categories, right? Like storage and then references, and so again, great resource. It's there. Something I found and wanted to share with you guys today. The other one that is curated by the Web3 Foundation is the Polkadot Newsletter. So this is really like just sign up to this if you are interested in all hackathons, events, meetups in your town. Who knows? Like there's a lot of really useful information that comes from this newsletter. Curious to know if any of you guys are signed up to any of these. Let me know in the chat. I'd love to just know that. Maybe nobody here. Maybe the people that watch seminar don't really need to be plugged into the newsletters. That would be something interesting for me to know for sure too. So yeah, please feel free to be a bit vocal in the chat today and let me know. Okay, so seminar. Let's talk about seminar. Like this format of learning and sort of engaging with each other. Like seminar started, I believe, like at practices where it was a bunch of core engineers just like sharing what they're working on and like what they what like teaching things that other engineers needed to know. And so it's cool to think of it historically because it really then kind of morphed into a more a Zoom call format that's similar, like smaller groups. And then from there, it kind of took off into a more like talking with ecosystem projects. And then where seminar is really just this place where we're learning from other people building with Substrate. And I try to really make like lean heavily on the fact that I want people that come on seminar who are eager to teach on a technical level, like what they're doing, like in a way that other people can learn from what they're building, right? So I guess we don't need to talk too much about seminar. We're here. It's like not maybe as exciting, or there's not much to talk about other than the new process for submitting proposals. So seminar historically has just been like, I reach out to people that I think would be fun to have on seminar. I really want that to change, and it seems like it's working pretty nicely. Like if you look, well, let's just check it out quick. If you look here, we have a bunch of proposals for topics in the issue section of the Substrate Seminar repository, and essentially, it's just a way for people to put out to pitch seminar ideas that they want to present, but maybe also pitch topics that they want to learn more of, right? So that's a question I have for you guys. What do you want to learn more of? I would love to know. Maybe just make an issue here and say, these are the things I want to learn more of. I want to learn more about like maybe there's specific topics. Maybe you want to learn more about a project in specific, some implementation. I'm not sure. So again, this is really a way to sort of bridge that gap where instead of me looking for people to come on seminar, you guys kind of like more active role. Again, would love to hear about what you think about this in the survey. So please let me know in the survey. Don't be shy. That would be great. We have a question that just came up and I'm going to answer it because that's what we're here for. So what is the best way to ask technical Substrate developer questions? Is there a recommended online chat channel to use? Is there a specific matrix or IRC channel where a lot of Substrate devs hang out in? So Philip is asking basically where's the best place to ask technical questions, if I understand correctly. So I think it deserves just like a quick something here on the matrix chat and stuff. So basically the answer is our StackExchange is the best place for you to ask technical questions. The StackExchange is by far the best place because you will by far get the best quality answers. You maybe weren't here when I was talking about the StackExchange, but essentially, like literally, all of the core engineers involved in the topics in Substrate are yes, Rooker, that's correct. Rooker just commented and said that StackExchange is the best place. But basically, like the core engineers that are working on these things are active on the StackExchange, and they will be the ones answering questions if they think that they can answer the questions. Of course, don't ask a question that says, why do I get this error, and copy paste the long error message from the Rust compiler, because you're not going to get an answer. In fact, that question is probably going to get shut down. Ask good quality questions that are specific to the problem that you're trying to solve, and make sure that you give context on the problem you're trying to solve, because the engineers that are probably going to be able to answer you, they just need to know like in detail like how to answer that question. So I hope that answered, but pretty much like I wanted to just address the matrix channel stuff, which we're going to go into. But a lot of things get lost in matrix channels. So the element and matrix channels are useful for more like kind of, hey, this is what I'm working on. Hey, like, what are you doing? I ran into this error. What do you think like I should do? Like, it's more like casual back and forth versus really getting specific questions answered. So yeah, hope that answers your question. The seminar here, yeah. So to finish on that, I'm trying to introduce like a lean system where, you know, the topic comes in and then it's tagged as a proposal, and then once it gets scheduled, for example, the staking nomination pools topic is actually scheduled. So I add a schedule label. It really this repo is an experiment as of like 4 or 5 weeks ago. So it does have room for improvement. Like most notably, I would like to have templates for the issues so that people can easily just put together their proposal. But it's work in progress. Again, feedback, welcome. Would love to hear how you think I can do better here. Hackathons and boot camps. So I had like when I think about Substrate developer resources, I had to include this because I think that depending on what level you are like learning with Substrate, these are very important things. Like having like a bootcamp like experience might be a very important thing for you. And it could also be that you're building out an engineering team and you want to know what the best way is to ramp up the skills of the engineers you're hiring, right? So there's a bunch of boot camps that have been running in the past, but these are the two that are currently active. So the first is kind of like a misnomer. It's a misleading name to be called boot camp, because really what it is, it's a training and incubation program that is geared to basically attract funding for Web3 startups. So this is more for startups that are well established, and they are, or to the extent that they are already working on an MVP. And the Web3 Bootcamp is a China-based incubator that will connect teams with resources and support to being the next big blockchain company or whatever. That's kind of the mandate, right? The Polkadot DevCamp is brand new, and it's quite a shame because had this seminar been 2 weeks before, the registration would have still been open, but it's actually closed now. But that's okay. I think that they're gonna do another one because it's pretty popular. Let me tell you that. Like we've had so many applicants to this bootcamp, and it's limited to 20 people. Because this is a bootcamp where we really, really want the students that are there to come out of the experience. So again, it's a 4-week bootcamp, right? So in 4 weeks, really intensive, project oriented, where you're learning like everything, like literally, like you're learning everything from being I realize that word is very like misleading, but by everything I mean, you are learning how to write runtimes, and you are learning how to create user interfaces for those runtimes, and pretty much all of the basics to kind of kickstart your career being a runtime engineer. And depending on how core you want to get, I think it's a really good start for people that are new to working with Substrate. I want to also note that this is a bootcamp that encourages developers to learn Rust before. Like, you need to have some sort of Rust experience before you dive into this bootcamp in particular. As for hackathons, so there is this Amsterdam Hackathon happening right now. I'm sure some of you know about the Amsterdam events. There's been a bunch of like crypto-related events. in Amsterdam last week. And so as part of that, there was this Amsterdam conference, and there's a bunch of bounties here from ecosystem teams. So just check it out. I don't know exactly what the sign up, how the sign up thing works and everything, but you guys can probably check it out. I'll let you guys do that, but really cool too. Again, great way to just get involved with other people building stuff. Like this is all about like the community and like learning and sharing your learning experiences. Chainlink Hackathon. This is it started on the 22nd, so that was like 4 days ago. And this is actually a really fun one because Polkadot is sponsoring this, or sponsoring a portion of it, and we have created a bunch of challenges, like bounties, that are more specific to working with Inc. smart contracts. And this is not a very typical thing for us to do because, smart contracts is like a very different thing than building blockchains with Substrate. However, I invite you to check out the challenges because they are pretty interesting. So pretty much like the challenges are about using Inc. in creative ways, but also maybe interacting with different palettes and Inc. smart contracts. So in the context of it being a Chainlink hackathon, we're really curious to seeing builders like trying to connect the dots between like the sort of very traditional Chainlink Oracle architecture and what it would look like as a Substrate chain, or maybe interacting with Inc. smart contracts on a Substrate chain. Really, the world is you can get as creative as you want. We encourage it. So for this hackathon, you can just sign up like now, and it's going on until it is going on until May 7th, right? So that's not so much time, but great opportunity to just like, I don't know, connect and stuff with other developers and cool ideas. Is there any questions? Okay, what's going on? Yeah, more technical seminars for sure. Yeah, so actually, I think I should find a way to publish the upcoming seminar list like in the repo. But essentially, there's some exciting seminars coming up for sure. It would be, and thanks, Rucker, because like it's just nice to hear like direct feedback on like, hey, I want more technical seminars, but this is exactly kind of the seminar I want. And I don't know how to present it, but this is what I'm looking for. And then, it becomes easier for me to take that idea and then find the right person to present that seminar. Or maybe it's a challenge that I can take up on myself, which would be fun too. No questions. Okay, polls. Let's check out some polls here. Yeah, so where do you usually stay up to date with Substrate? GitHub PRs. That makes a lot of sense. I mean, same. Newsletters, yeah, there's only one vote there. And Rust docs, yeah, that's normal. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna get back to this. Awesome Substrate. Like for me, like just looking at the list of things being built with Substrate is just a great resource of either inspiration or whether you're looking for tools for building what you're trying to achieve, what you're doing. It's really a good place to go. So for example, like we can have a look at it real quick here. Awesome Substrate. Yeah, so it's organized by like type of thing, like type of stack, I guess you could say. And essentially like here's what I think, like, if you're coming in, for example, the Chainlink feed palette. The Chainlink feed palette is literally something that someone doing the Chainlink hackathon can use to start somewhere, right? Like, oh, look at how that person implemented this. Like, oh, I can maybe like take some ideas there. I mean, this is probably preaching to the choir, but I think that it's an important resource to like kind of stand on the shoulders of the giants of these projects that have already been building things, instead of like feeling a little lost when you're starting. So these extensions, for example, Integrity's trusted off-chain execution framework, all of these client libraries. Like there's a bunch of developers out there maybe more used to the C++ code base for the client libraries. Or that I know that there was some question about one being in Java that's not maintained anymore. This is probably a really good resource for people who wouldn't know about these different libraries otherwise. And then a bunch of tools. So these are all your typical tools that are mostly parity maintained. I think this is not, but yeah. Oh no, that is it's a Polkadot thing. Cool. Yeah. So again, just like I encourage you to check out the awesome Substrate repo. It's got a lot of really, really good stuff. I also wanted to share this thing here that I found, which is the open source Polkadot Stack. It's actually maintained by the Web3 Foundation, and this is like a similar Substrate, similar awesome Substrate thing, but it's kind of I don't know. I discovered this only a couple days ago, and I thought like this is actually really, really useful if you're coming in from like a hackathon team perspective, and you're like, hey, like I don't really know how to go about creating a browser extension for my app. Well, like you can check out all of these existing projects that have implemented browser extensions, and maybe that's like a good starting point for you. Same with all these tools, APIs, and languages, and I quite like the way it's organized. Right, it's kind of similar to the awesome Substrate, but not exactly. Ink smart contracts, right? The Chainlink Hackathon has a bunch of challenges to do with the Ink smart contracts. Isn't this a really good place to check out what types of smart contracts have been built with Ink? Yeah, so I think you get the idea. We had a question that just came up, so I'm gonna just answer that. Oh yeah, the recipes. Yeah, so yeah, we're gonna get there. Okay, so yeah, we're doing pretty good on time, and this is like a perfect. Yeah, so Elio, I don't know if I'm saying your name right, but Elio has Elio's from the Edgeware community, and like last minute, I just shared our seminar session happening today in the Edgeware chat, which I forgot to put in here. Actually, I need to add that. And anyways, and Elio is like, yo, I'm working on something that I wouldn't mind just talking about on the seminar. And so I said, heck yeah. That's why you can see this last minute add-on section where we're going to have Elio come up on screen. So I actually shared, well, yeah, so I put in the link that you gave me on the Treasury proposal of the work that you're going to be doing. I thought that was maybe more, it's easier to understand, sort of, it gives it more scope than sharing, well, I mean, yeah, I guess like, I'm going to share this in the chat here. Check it out. But yeah, this is so Elio is working on the recipes revamp. So Substrate recipes used to be maintained by Parity, and it was then primarily Joshy's project. So Josh is one of the core engineers at Moonbeam, and it seems like kind of, I mean, it's a big project to sort of maintain, and so it's a lot of work, and it's something that's useful to a lot of people. So I'm going to Elio talk more about that, but just before we get him on screen, Elio, maybe in like 2 minutes, a minute, we'll have you on. Just real quick on these dev chats, right? So like I highly recommend, if you're getting started with Substrate, or if you don't know about this already, if you click on this Substrate developers public space, essentially, and this assumes that you have an element matrix client, like a chat client. Well, it creates it basically has an automatic, like curated list of all of the developer channels that you would want to be in if you're working with Substrate. So that includes like things like the ZK Polkadot's Pioneers Prize chat, for example. It includes the Substrate Devs chat. This one here is actually part of this list. The community chat. So super useful to just kind of stay plugged in. And that hopefully answers the question about like where to ask questions of maybe non-StackExchange worthy questions. Just join these chats. People are really friendly. They would love to help you. Everyone's here is like from different levels, and it's all about knowledge sharing and stuff. So yeah, this second chat here is community maintained. Highly recommend it. Sam, who has been here on Seminar, is the initiator of this initiative. So you guys are in good hands if you are in that chat. People are friendly and they're going to want to help you. So Elio, do you want to come on screen? I am going to bring you on, and you can chat about your the Substrate recipes. We're just bringing Elio on, and if there's anyone else while we're here, we still have some time. Feel free to say something in the chat, and we can we can have you say a few words. This is what today's about. So Elio, I just invited you. You should be able to be connected very soon. Yeah.
Hello.
Hey, cool. How's it going, man?
Fine. How are you? How it's going?
I'm good. Yeah, this is really, really cool for me because, like I was telling the others earlier today, or earlier just now, just a couple hours ago, I was like, "Hey, like, do you want to come on?" And you're like, "Yeah."
It was a last minute decision. So thank you for having this opportunity. So to share my experience and to help the community. Yeah. So thank you.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to So I'm going to share your screen. We don't really need to have this anymore. This is this is what this is about. Like, we are sharing things that we're doing and learning and resources we're using, right, for like everything Substrate related. Notice my 2019 Substrate t-shirt from the very first Sub-Zero.
Yeah, I have the socks.
And
the bag. So I won it when the Substrate event the event yearly Substrate happened. So I won them.
Oh,
so and they sent to them. So I had to wait some months, but it was worth. They keep working.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Hey, do you want to tell us a little bit about what you do? I kind of jumped ahead here, but yeah, let's take a second. Like, so tell us about what you're working on and so, how long you've been working with Substrate and stuff like that.
Yeah, sure. So I can give a brief introduction. So my name is Elio. So I have more than 6 years working as a professional Android developer, and recently 1 year and a half, I would say, I learned about Substrate. Actually, I was interested about blockchain. So a friend of mine told me that there is a framework which is called Substrate, and I was playing around with it. So digging into the open source community, and then I found the Substrate recipes, which were maintained at the time by the Josh Yondorf. So somehow he helped me to get my foot inside the doors, and I was contributing back at the time. So initially, the recipes were built on top of the version 1 Substrate, the old one. But then when the version 2, just a second, let me put my cell phone. Sorry for that. When the Substrate version 2 was released, so I thought, why not converting or translating all the recipes from version 1 to version 2? So, and it took me 5 to 6 months, I would say, to translate all of them one by one. So, the documentation is the latest thing. that I'm updating. But I would say all the recipes, all the examples are translated into the version 2. So everybody who wants to learn something new, who wants to have some real examples, can take a look to the Substrate recipes. So on the GitHub, you can search for Kabocha, because
So this is the one that.
So
I remember.
I forked this, and Kabocha forked it. So to get the latest one, we have to go to the Kabocha repository, and so it's there in the chat. So
yes,
and
cool,
so everybody wants to learn on Substrate. There are some real examples using the latest version, the version 2. And currently I'm updating also the documentation, so one by one, because there are a lot of them. And I think it's a good resources, and it's a good place to learn about recipes. So it's and Substrate. So everybody can take a look. They can open issues. They can ask me directly if they wish. So I'm open to help the community, even though I'm still learning as well. So it's a learning process, as everybody knows.
Definitely.
Yeah. So and Edgeware has granted it this kind of thing. So
yeah, super cool.
Yeah.
So like, how can people help, and maybe what's your strategy on like updating everything?
Well, so as I told you, the most of the job is done. So I just need to update the documentation. But I think that there is a lot of improvements. So, for example, if everybody from the community wants to add a new recipe or a new example, he is more than welcome. So if he has an idea, if he wants to build a new example, so we can work on it, and to give the community an option to learn something more, or to have something new. So so it's a kind of it's a very starting point for everybody, and it people still love it. So people still, developers still looking into it. They talk to each other. They want updates. On the documentations. They ask sometimes, why not adding this palette or this one? So yeah. So back at the time, so today there are much more information instead of when I started. So, but there is, it's still one of the main repositories if everybody wants to start.
I mean, I remember when I started learning about Substrate, recipes was the first thing I was doing, and I really liked how you had the kitchen node, right? And the kitchen node, you can kind of like almost like Rust by example, where like you could add palettes to it and then see it work, and then you comment. It was like all commented out and stuff. I mean, to be honest, it's really, really educational, but must be really hard to maintain because everything's changing all the time and stuff like that. But like you said, things are maybe more stable now, and we know a lot more. So
for sure.
So it must be easier.
So I'm inviting everybody who wants to contribute. So even opening issues or giving suggestions would be more than welcomed. So
I'm looking at, is this the right link? The wiki.kabocha.network, right?
It is. So I mean, actually, the documentations are 30% or 25% done, but I haven't not published yet. So, but if you go to the repository, you can have them, or at least the updated one. Not all of them for now. So because it's a lot of work.
This is really cool.
Yeah.
So there's a question on: is there a Hello Substrate recipe to start on?
Yeah, it's a really great place to start. So actually, I started with that, and
The hello
I
Substrate.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah. I guess that this person maybe didn't see the very first one, right? Which is hello Substrate. Yeah. So maybe I can just I can print paste this to answer your question. But Elio, before you leave, I actually really would like to take this opportunity for you to tell me a bit more about the the Edgeware community. And like, you know, this is literally being funded by the Edgeware treasury. I know that Edgeware has a very tight knit developer community. How can people get involved? Like,
so
what's the best? What are the best places? Yeah.
currently on the Kabocha, we are working two people, Ramsey, which I would
Yeah.
like to say hello because I know he is watching us,
Yeah.
and me.
Hey, Ramsey.
So, and Kabocha recently participated to the action. So let's see how far it would take to get the slot. So to be honest, so for me it was a kind of I just participated to the Substrate event, and I just on the networking session when happens time to time, I met some Edgeware guys. So and they introduced me to Ramsey. So we had a call. So I shared the experience with him, and he invited me to contribute to Kabocha. And but for people who wants to join it, I'm not sure, to be honest. They have initially they have to contribute to the community. So I mean to share their experience, and talk to people who are more experienced with the Substrate, and and so step by step. So if uh, uh, I would say that if you are willing to do something, you are gonna find a way to do it. So and the community is the only and the best way to
Yeah,
get the foot
definitely.
inside, I would say. So
Yeah, I mean, I know that the Edgeware community is very solid, and
Mhm.
I think the oldest Substrate developer community really that exists
Yeah.
outside of Parity, obviously. Um, but yeah, so I think like for those watching, like, you know, this is like a cool thing to know about, like, you know, that these communities like, exist, and you can just as easy as just get into their chats and introduce yourselves, and you might be collaborating on some cool project like this. And getting paid for it. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Elio, is there any last things you want to say while you're still on here today?
I want to say to everybody, or I know that some new people are watching us, some friends of mine. I want to say to them that it's the right time to become a part of Substrate community and then start doing blockchain, because the Web3 is the future. So they are in time, so they have to jump into this technology. So
Awesome. Yeah, definitely. Elio, thank you so much for coming on. It's been really great to just have you
my
share
pleasure,
this.
my pleasure.
Yeah, we'll see you around.
Okay,
Cheers.
see you. Bye bye. Thank you.
Bye. Cool. Well, honestly, with that being said, I think that's a really great stopping point for this seminar. For those of you who are new to the Substrate developer community, hopefully you have great starting points on all these resources. You know what there is. For those of you who have been actively part of the Substrate developer community, please feel free. Please answer the questions in the survey that I put together for this seminar's plan. And for everyone, included those that are more experienced and less experienced, this is a really, really exciting time to be developing the Substrate. So make the most of it, get out there, introduce yourselves, whether it's at a hackathon or just randomly in a chat. This is a very friendly community, and we are super stoked to support you in whatever you're trying to be building. That being said, thanks a lot for joining us on seminar, and we will see you in 2 weeks. Cheers.